An Indian High Court recently ruled that chanting Jai Shri Ram inside a mosque doesn't hurt religious sentiments. Really? Is this just about a chant? Or is there something more going on here? Looks like the court just rewrote the rules on what counts as respect. Or maybe it's just about who gets to make the noise. This ruling has sparked debate and raises a bigger question. Is the Indian government more focused on religious issues than solving the country's real problems? Before we go into the details, just watch a clip from Sheikh Uthman about their god Ram.
Like, we worship Ram. Like, who's Ram? Ram is the guy who had Sita. Who's Sita? Sita got kidnapped by Ravana. Like, well, what did Ram do about it? Nothing. He went to Hanuman, the monkey god. Like, wait. So God's wife got kidnapped for more than a year and he couldn't do anything and he had to go to a monkey for help? I'm good, bro. You guys are on your own on that.
Okay, let's start with the Karnataka case. Two men entered a mosque and chanted Jai Shri Ram, while they faced charges of criminal trespass and insult to religious beliefs under Section 295A of the Indian Penal Code. The High Court dismissed the case. The court argued that these slogans didn't actually offend anyone, highlighting that Hindus and Muslims in the area lived in harmony.
First, let us understand what happened, and then let's talk about it a little. You see, Karnataka High Court on Tuesday, that is today, quashed the criminal case lodged by the police against two persons in connection with allegedly raising Jai Shri Ram slogans inside a mosque. A single division bench headed by, like I told you, Justice M. Nagaprasna, looking into the appeal petition by the accused person while passing the order, mentioned that it was not understandable how raising a Jai Shri Ram slogan could hurt the religious sentiment of a community.
It's a ruling that raised eyebrows and left many wondering why these issues are even in court instead of real issues plaguing the nation. India's constitution is based on the principle of secularism, a state that respects all religion and treats them equally. But in recent years, the secular fabric seems to be fading away. What happened to addressing issues like jobs, education, and healthcare? This ruling isn't just about two men chanting in a mosque. It represents a longer pattern in India, where religious issues often overshadow economic and social changes. Like Elon Musk's takeover of X, anti-Muslim rhetoric has surged, with accounts spreading hate under the guise of free speech. In a country with a growing economy and an immense pool of young talent, you'd expect the government to be laser-focused on job creation, innovation, and economic growth. But recently, it seems the priorities are shifting elsewhere. Who would have thought that we would be seeing headlines about whether or not it is acceptable to chant Hindu slogans in mosques? India has some serious challenges. According to the World Bank, India has the world's largest population living below the poverty line. Over 176 million people struggle with extreme poverty. Income inequality has also widened, with the top 1% holding a staggering 40% of the country's wealth.
The jobless rate has been hovering around 7% or 8%, up from around 5% over the last 5 years. And according to the CMIE, the labor force participation rate, which includes persons who are employed or seeking employment, has fallen below 40% from 46% 6 years ago. This chart shows India's youth unemployment is 40%, much higher than the overall rate of 7.7%.
Let's take a quick look at the numbers. Inflation is on the rise. The cost of living is becoming unbearable for many. And unemployment is one of the biggest concerns for young Indians today. Economists have been sounding alarms about these issues. Yet instead of seeing reforms, we're seeing, distractions. So, what's really happening here? While the courts debate religious sensitivities, these are the realities that millions of Indians face every day. Why isn't this the focus? When economic issues become too challenging or complex to address immediately, political parties worldwide often turn to identity politics to rally public support. By focusing on mosques, temples, and religious history, the government can appeal to its core voting base, paying attention to issues that stir emotions. But the bigger question still remains. Is the Indian government more focused on religious identity than on solving India's pressing issues? Instead of tackling economic inequality, we see government resources directed at things like mosque-related controversies or renaming cities and roads. Recent years have seen a different trend. Religion has become a focal point in social narratives, overshadowing issues of national importance. Since Elon Musk took over Twitter, for instance, anti-Muslim rhetoric has been more visible, exploiting free speech to amplify divisive narratives. It's not just the government, though. The media also plays a huge role in amplifying these distractions. Rather than holding the government accountable for the economy, many media outlets find it easier and more profitable to focus on controversial topics that keep viewers glued to their screens. Religion, especially when it's tied to national identity, brings in the ratings. This Islamophobic focus isn't just a harmless distraction. It creates real divisions, fostering resentment and mistrust between communities. Imagine if the energy spent on these religious debates went into tackling real issues instead. Interestingly, many Indians are growing wary of this focus on religious matters. Social media is filled with reactions from young people asking, "What about jobs?" Or "When will we see address inflation?" There's a palpable frustration growing among those who feel their needs are being ignored for the sake of religious posturing. This isn't just about freedom of speech. It's about how free speech is often twisted to fuel an agenda. When incidents like the one in Karnataka are amplified, it risks normalizing religious provocations, like the real issues, education, healthcare, employment, are sidelined. Because really, if you think about it, the chanting of a Hindu slogan in a Muslim mosque wasn't as much of a crime as it was about respecting worshippers and the sentiments of other people. Economic experts argue that a nation focusing too heavily on identity politics may sacrifice progress in crucial areas. For instance, income inequality in India is growing. The gap between the wealthy and the impoverished is stark. And yet, we are seeing more attention paid to issues like religious slogans than to policies addressing inequality. Imagine if the energy and resources dedicated to stirring religious sentiment were channeled into tackling unemployment or investing in healthcare and education. The secular perspective suggests that this focus could unify the country under shared goals rather than fuel division. So what do you think? Should India's government refocus on core issues like the economy, healthcare, and education rather than stoking religious tensions? And are decisions like the Karnataka ruling setting a dangerous example by dismissing religious insults?